All locations secured. Hold your position. Friendly UAV inbound. Losing A.
Hey guys, how's it going today? This is Epic White Bread. I'm bringing you another video. In the background, you're going to be seeing a Domination gameplay that I ended up joining in late. Going for diamond assault rifles, as you'll see towards the end of the video. I get it, and I was pretty excited because it's definitely a grind going for this dark matter camo, which I always like doing. So today, I would like to talk about my problems with Black Ops 3. Overall, I like the game. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's the best Call of Duty to date, because I'll be completely honest with you, Black Ops 2 was fantastic. Now, don't get me wrong, I know there was flaws in it, and I came into Black Ops 2, I would like to say either the very, very end of Ghosts, or a little bit towards the beginning of it, so I didn't start out with all the problems and possible gun balance issues that most other people would have had. But I'd say all in all, it was a great game. The gun balance was pretty good. When I went into it, I could pick up any gun, and I would do okay with it. So, unlike Ghosts, okay, maybe not Ghosts, because Ghosts was pretty decent, in my mind. Some people would like to disagree, saying the MTAR was overpowered, or, you know, the Vector was the only gun anybody would use. But I could go in with the K7, arguably one of the most underpowered guns in the game, seeing as it could take up to 7 shots to kill people. And I could do pretty well. And pretty well meaning I could drop a 50, 60, 70 kill game in Domination with no problem. And anyway, let's get into the topic of today, which would be my problems with Black Ops 3. My first problem is going to have to be, and this is probably my biggest problem with it, is the flinch. Now, I understand why Treyarch and David Vonderhaar pulled out toughness or focus or whatever you want to call it, because it was more or less a crutch perk. Everybody used it, so why should we even have it in there, or why don't we just make it implemented into the game? Which I completely agree with, don't get me wrong. But problem is, I feel like there's just a little bit too much into the game to where, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of times where I just get a lot of crappy deaths. You know, I'm shooting first, my aim is on point, provided it's actually on point, which we all know that it's definitely not all the times, and he hits one shot on me, my aim goes flying into the air for some reason, and I die where I should have had the kill. So what I feel like should happen is just put it to where everybody has how toughness was in just Black Ops 2, for example. To where, yeah, we're not going to be, you know, shooting way up into the air when you get shot at, but you're also not going to be completely dead on target. You're going to flinch a little bit, you know, like with every game, but you're also not going to be, you know, going sky high and, you know, pretending like you're having a seizure when you're going through that. So my next problem, and this one's minor, the rest of them are pretty minor, like, you know, I'm not, like, flinch was my main thing. All the other ones are super small. If they don't happen, they don't happen. If they happen, sweet. But my next problem would be streaks. I feel like they're slightly underpowered to the point where they get shot down way too quickly. And most of the ones being UAV, counter UAV, even the hater or VSAT or whatever you like to call it, and I find they're kind of underwhelming. You know, Black Ops 2, I would run UAV all the time. I'll be completely honest. I would run UAV, either counter UAV and VSAT, or I'd use UAV, VSAT, and Swarm, something like that. And guess what? I would have the UAV up for the whole time because people never shot them down. Because most of the time they didn't care. And with this one, I'll have a UAV and a counter UAV up. 5 seconds later, guess what? UAV destroyed. Counter UAV destroyed. And I'm like, okay, well that was pointless. So I generally don't run them anymore. I'll run Lightning Strike, Hellstorm, Talon, or something like that. I don't know. So I feel like either, and this kind of goes into, I'll do the other one too, the launchers as well. I feel like they're way too easy to use. I feel like they need to be a little, I wouldn't necessarily say more skill-based, because you shoot a rocket, like, ooh, so much skill. But I would say you know, make them a little more accurate to the point where if you're gonna shoot down a UAV, it needs to be how they did with the Hater, where you have to be on point with shooting that rocket. Otherwise, you won't be able to track it. I don't know. That could just be me. I've heard a couple other YouTubers say the same thing, but maybe that's just us and everybody else thinks it's great. And in that case, fine, I'll deal with it. I'll just use different streaks. Next one I'd like to talk about would be the melee system. And this one's kind of controversial because initially I was super excited for this, and a lot of people were actually, with not being able to do a one-hit melee unless you're using a combat knife. And in the beginning, I thought this was cool. I was like, oh, sweet, you know, now I won't, you know, get panic knifed or whatever you want to call it when I'm in a gunfight. But at the same time, I kind of miss it, I guess. Maybe it was a cheap tactic in the other Call of Duties, you know, you're running around, you're like, oh, I ran out of ammo, what can I do? And then you just, you know, hit melee and bam, he's dead, and you can move on your way. Some people really hated that because there are people that go around and they have, was it the default setup that has the melee? Yeah, default setup has the melee on the stick, so you can just pop that stick. And that sounded wrong. People do that as their first action without shooting, and that gets old. But at the same time, I would much rather deal with that than hitting that panic button, and most of the time when you hit it, you die. You'll hit the melee button, it'll knock them off, but they're still shooting. So it's really frustrating at times, to say the least. My next one, and this one is super small. That's what she said. But it's something that frustrates me, I think, more than other things, even more than the melee in my mind, is the specialists when you haven't used it yet. And what I mean is, let's say you are using, I guess what's it called, the War Machine, and you just pull the War Machine out, like as soon as you're allowed to shoot it, and somebody kills you, and bam, you have to start all over again. I feel like that shouldn't be the case. I feel like that's, you know, needless to say, frustrating, but also unnecessary. I don't know if that would be the right word. Meaning, unless you were just sitting there the whole time, you know, not doing anything, but most of the time the match is almost over. But if you're actively, you know, in the game, you're on the hard point, you're capping flags, you're getting kills, things like that, and then you get your War Machine, you're about to use it, you know, especially in like a clutch situation, like trying to break a hard point or something like that, and then you get killed right away, it's like, well, now I did all of this for nothing. I could have sat in the back and camped and would have been able to get it, you know? And it's definitely frustrating at times, because there's been so many times I'm trying to go for the hero gear, and so I'm working on through all my specialists, and a lot of times, especially with the War Machine, if nothing else, I've been going for it, and, you know, I get killed off it, so I have to wait for the entire next game for it to actually be able to get earned again, and I don't know. That could just be me. Maybe I'm just talking out my butt here. Alright, and the last one, which is more specific to me, is the party game modes. Gun game is probably one of my favorite modes, and I use that to warm up. I use that to just kind of mess around, close out my game session for the night. But I really wish they had more. I wish they had Sticks and Stones, one in the chamber, you know, Infected, something like that. That could just be me. I know some people say yes, some people say no, but anyway, I gotta wrap this video up, guys. If you enjoyed, feel free to click a like, subscribe, that sort of thing. If you have any suggestions on things you like, don't like, blah 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 about Black Ops 3, feel free to put it in the comment section below. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.